This portion of the Max Level podcast is brought to you by TechniSport Gaming Chairs. Are you in need of a new chair for your office, studio, or gaming space? TechniSport is one of the leading manufacturers for gaming-related chairs. In fact, scholars have long debated the origins of the Pro Gamer series. The most common theory is that a mad scientist created the first prototype by crossing a racing car with a lazy boy. However, gamers claim to have known these creatures for thousands of years, and some streamers insist that they have always existed right here in cyberspace. Go to TechniSportUSA.com and use the offer code LDG to save 10% when making a purchase. Again, that's offer code LDG whenever you make a purchase at TechniSport Gaming Chairs, and you'll instantly save 10%. Remember, if you want to hear the Max Level podcast in its uncut entirety at 9 a.m. every Monday morning, be sure to subscribe on either iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher. You're listening to the Max Level podcast for November 19th, 2018. On today's show, the crew goes in-depth with Fallout 76 and Spyro Reignited Trilogy. Is a discless Xbox One arriving in the near future? We go over all the major deals you can expect to find in stores on Black Friday, reminisce about gaming magazines, talk about the breaking news of Sony skipping E3 2019, and have a heartfelt discussion on what games we are thankful for. All this in the usual segments on today's episode of the Max Level Podcast. On with the show.
Honestly, did you hear about the cheese factory that exploded in France?
We're not doing this again this week.
There was nothing left but debris.
We're not doing this again this week. Dude, take a look. I know you can't see it right now, but I showed you earlier. But take a look at that battle wound on my arm. It's pretty crazy. Ended up falling down the stairs. Well, not all the way down the stairs, but I was carrying two of our dogs down the stairs and ended up slipping. And luckily, one of them stayed in my arms. The other one, our Pekingese, kind of like slipped out at the very end and landed on his butt. And he kind of like yelped out, but he wasn't like hurt. He just I think it startled him more than anything because he didn't know what was going on. Yeah, he's fine. He's fine. But that was fun. I landed like I crashed into our vacuum cleaner because that was the bottom of the stairs. I completely broke that. Besides my arm, I banged up my back and I busted my head open a little bit, but still a little sore today because that was literally yesterday.
The thing that hurts the most is your pride.
No, I don't give a crap, dude.
Yeah. like you had any of that.
Yeah, that doesn't bother me at all. No, I just, I'm still a little sore though, because as day of recording, as everyone knows, we record these on Saturdays. This just happened yesterday on Friday. So hopefully by the time you're listening to this on Monday, I'll be feeling a bit better. But if you didn't know, this is Max Level, a video game podcast found right here at Level Down Games. I'm Bryan, joined as always by the self-proclaimed king of Long Island, Frank.
Hey guys, remember, don't trust atoms. They make up everything.
Special shout out to Dance with the Dead for allowing us to use their music for our videos. Everyone absolutely needs to go check these guys out and support their music. They'll be found on Bandcamp, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, but pretty much everywhere. Check them out. You will not be disappointed. And before we forget, Max Level and Level Down Games is entirely self-funded as a passion project. If you'd like to see it continue to grow and become something even bigger, consider supporting us through one or all of the affiliate links listed in the description of this podcast. It would mean the absolute world to us. Do you know what else would mean the absolute world to us? Leaving us a rating and a review, especially if you're listening through iTunes. So if you've subscribed to us through Apple Podcasts / iTunes, go to our Max Level feed and BG Mania if you really want to be courteous, and leave us a 5-star rating if you enjoy us, and leave us a review. That way, when people search for a new video game podcast, the Max Level podcast will show up in their search results. So that way more people can find our show. Speaking of our show, I think it's time we have to start mentioning this because we have about a month and a half left until I'm going to actually want to do this. I want to get us on an actual podcast host. So as of now, I've been kind of doing it by myself through leveldowngames.com. I haven't actually decided where I'm going to go yet, whether it's Podbean, whether it's, I don't know. But I want to get on an actual podcast host that is better able to give us analytics that we can actually really dive deep into seeing everything about our shows. Right now, I just have a generic feed burner thing, and the stats fluctuate on a daily basis, and I know that's not accurate. So I want to get us on an actual podcasting host, but they do charge per month, so that's why I've just been kind of reluctant to do that. But I think it's time now. Our shows are big enough that I should possibly be doing that. Starting for the Max Level podcast, starting on January 7th, 2019. So you have a month and a half. make sure starting that first Monday in January that our episode goes up, make sure you're looking at your podcast feed. If you do not notice an episode by halfway through the day, Monday, January 7th, double check and make sure there's not a new Max Level podcast feed. If everything goes according to plan, everything will transfer over. Your subscription will transfer over normally, and you won't have to resubscribe to the Max Level podcast through your podcast app. If things do not go according to plan, you may have to resubscribe. So make sure you're watching your podcast feed. If you don't see a new episode of Max Level, make sure you resubscribe. Otherwise, you will no longer be a subscriber to our podcast, which would greatly break my heart. So make sure you're watching your podcast feed. And if you do not see an episode of Max Level uploaded by Monday afternoon, starting in 2019, resubscribe, because that's going to be the life or death of the show is you as a listener. So make sure you do that. That sound though means it's time for some campaign games, and we got 2 to talk about. I will preface this by saying Pokemon being saved for next week. I know, Frank, you're wearing the Pokemon hat. You got the Pokeball sitting there next to you. I haven't had a chance to play it yet. I do have my copy over there. I know you bought Let's Go Pikachu. I bought Let's Go Eevee. It's sitting right over there. I want to dive deep. You've played like 14 hours over the past day. I want to take the time and really dive deep into it myself. So we're going to save that for next week, because there's 2 major games that came out this week, one of which I spent the most time in. So I want to kick campaign games off this week with Fallout 76, a game that I know you want to get. So yes, we're gonna talk about that for a little bit, and maybe you will be enticed to pick this up at the next chance you can and jump in with us, because I've been having a lot of fun. The first thing,
ASAP.
Yeah. The first thing I want to talk about is the single player experience versus the group/team based experience. So I've had a significant amount of time played both single player and with a group, either by myself, or I played some with Sean and Justin. For those that used to watch us on Twitch, you'll remember them. Boomdoggy was Seanzy, and Backlash Wave was Justin. So if you used to watch us stream Dead by Daylight and that kind of stuff on Twitch, then you've seen them. But I've had a chance to play Fallout 76 with both of them. Not at the same time, unfortunately. We haven't been a group of 3 yet. But I played for about 6 or 7 hours with Sean one night, and I played with Justin for about 2 hours another night, and then I've played with myself often. No, I was kidding.
Often.
I knew you were going to do it, so that's why I jumped in first. But I've played with myself for about 10 hours in Fallout 76.
Practically blind.
After doing all of that, I'm still only level 11 because I've been exploring a lot. This game is massive, and there's so many things to do. So it is a bit more challenging if you play as the single player game. It's a bit more challenging because the world was designed with a shared world experience / MMO in mind. So, you're going to walk into an area and you'll see a bunch of super mutants or a bunch of feral ghouls or a bunch of scorched. And even though there might be lower level than you, like I'm level 9 walking in, there's level 6s everywhere. When there's 7 of them running at you at once, it's still a bit challenging. And ammo seems to be fairly easy to come by, which is a good thing, because you can always craft more if you need it. But it definitely seems like it's easy to find out in the world as well. But I've been trying to save ammo for, the higher level stuff or the instanced stuff, or where I'm really in a pinch. And I've been trying to use my melee weapons just for like low level enemies and stupid things like that. But there will become times when I'm just overwhelmed and I'm like dying and literally using a stim pack every 3 seconds to keep myself alive. And stim packs are not easy to come by. So yeah, they never were, and they still aren't in Fallout 76. You can purchase them from vendors. If you have the appropriate materials, you can craft them, but finding them out in the world is not an easy task. So you'll be lucky to stay alive at certain points. And dying is the name of the game, really. It's an MMO, so you're gonna die a lot. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've died in World of Warcraft.
Oh, well, I would never die.
Well, you're going to, but that's just, they expect you to. And it's done very much like Conan Exiles. So Fallout 76 is a good mix or mashup of the traditional Fallout experience with an MMO like World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy mixed with a shared world game like Conan Exiles, a survival type of a game. When you die, much like Conan Exiles, you have to go back to the last point that you died and pick up all of your stuff. If you don't, someone else can do it. So you definitely have to go back and pick up your things. Now, you won't lose your weapons. You don't lose your weapons. You don't lose your ammo, that kind of stuff when you die. What you lose is your crafting material. So you have to go back and pick up all your stuff. Otherwise, you have to start fresh with all the crafting material. So it's highly recommended you go back and get your things. Otherwise, it's hard for you to build. It's hard for you to repair your items, or it's hard for you to craft anything. So you definitely want to do that. When you're playing with other people, though, there are certain issues that need to be fixed. One of them being the UI. It's too clunky and too slow, and it takes forever to catch up progress and quests and what you're doing, especially if you have someone with you that's still doing the quest as well. So if you open up your map, like your world map, and say I have a quest that I have to search an area, and on the map there's a big yellow circle highlighted in the area that I need to search. Okay, I find the item. I'm playing with Sean. Sean is still looking for the item. Like, he knows where it is because I just found it and it's just in the same spot. So he's heading towards it. But if I open my map, that yellow circle is still there because Sean still hasn't found the item. So if I'm playing with random people, because you can group up with randoms in the game and do things, I see all this progress on my map that isn't mine. And I don't think that should be the case. Like in World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy 14,
you should only have to track your own.
Only track your own, because that's how most MMOs work. Once I finish a portion of the quest, even if Sean or Justin or whoever hasn't finished it yet, I can tell they're still on that portion because it'll tell me, but I don't see their progress on my actual map, throwing me off because now I have their progress for that quest, plus the next area I'm supposed to go to for that quest. So I have two separate things on the map for that quest. Very, very, very not intuitive. So I don't know what they were thinking when they did that. And then, like I said, it just takes forever. Like if somebody finishes a portion of the quest before I do, and I get credit for it, like say you just had to open a terminal and read something, and that'll work for everyone in your team or your group, that everyone will get credit for it. It'll take sometimes 2 or 3 minutes for the UI to catch up and say that the quest has been completed and the next step to show up. So it's not just lag. I don't know. There's something server wise that's slowing it down, and I don't know what it is. One thing I will praise them about, though, is their servers and their shards. So, you know, like Final Fantasy 14 has servers that you can log into, or World of Warcraft has servers that you create your character on and log into. The way Fallout 76 works is you just make your character. And every time you log into the game, it puts you on the next available server. So everything you do stays with your individual character. When you log out of the game, your base, your camp goes with you. Nothing stays in the game once you log out. When you log back in, your camp and your safe, your base, everything just respawns in the area you last set it at on whatever server you're logging into. So they have so many different servers, and it's only like there's only a set number of people that can be on a server or shard at one time. So once that server is full, they'll open up a new one. And then people start logging into that one. And once that one's full, they start logging into that one. And then when people log out of other ones, they start logging you in that. So it's like a tiered system. So like they open one, there's 30 people. Then they open two, there's 30 people. Well, one person logs out of the first one. So the next person that logs in gets put on the first one. And then they open a third one, and so on and so forth. So it actually works really well. And that means your base can only be attacked when you're online, so that you don't have to worry about that when you're playing the game.
Cool.
You don't have to worry about logging in and making sure your base is still okay, like you did in Conan Exiles, which is why we no longer play, because our massive base and everything that we had got destroyed because we stopped playing for a little while. And now I don't want to get back to it because everything we've done is destroyed and lost. So it's not fun. But yeah, really, really enjoying that aspect of the game was the way that the servers work. Quests are really hard to find, which I was not expecting in Fallout 76. So the mainline quests are really easy because once you finish one, it gives you the next one, and there's breadcrumb quests to follow. But in order to do the side quests and that kind of stuff, there's nothing that points you to some of these quests where you should be going. And Justin and I were actually talking about this. Like, you literally have to stumble upon them in the world by chance. And whether that's going into a house, opening a terminal, and a quest starts. And it might be the most interesting quest in the world.
That's always in Fallout.
That's not how MMOs work, though.
That's how Fallout works.
That's Yes and no. Fallout 4 led you to areas where you could find these quests.
There were also random things that would appear along the way. Like if you went somewhere and like a dog walked by, that might be a new quest.
But there was a set path or way you could be going to ensure that you would come upon these quests. Not the case in Fallout 76. Because it's an open world. I mean, obviously Fallout 4 was Fallout 3 was kind of open world. Fallout 4 is very open world. But this is a shared world MMO where things can be killed and have to wait to respawn. So if you don't know that something is there as you're walking by and someone's already killed it or looted it and you have to wait for it to respawn, you'll never know. And where these, like, as I said, like Final Fantasy 14, World of Warcraft, most traditional online games, they don't, leveling up is the name of the game. You have to be able to level up. Killing enemies, you cannot level up in Fallout 76 that way. You can. It's going to take you years to do it, but you can do it that way. Questing and doing events are the way to level up in Fallout 76, specifically events. Events are really easy to level up through. But questing is the other way. And if you don't know where to find a lot of these quests, you will never level up. So I think that's just a big issue, is that they need to do something to, and World of Warcraft's gotten really good about it. On the map for, like, on your world map for Warcraft, there will be a yellow exclamation point in an area. And that means there's a quest somewhere over there that you can do. It won't tell you exactly where, but there's a quest over there. But then when you get to that area, there's a big giant yellow exclamation point above somebody's head that, oh, that person has a quest. So once you get to that area, it's pretty easy to find. Make sure you're eating and drinking, because you have to do that in this game.
Okay, cool, awesome. That was survival mode.
Yeah, because because Fallout 4 did add that eventually, didn't they?
Yeah.
But it's like, if you never played survival mode in Fallout 4 and you've played games like survival games like Conan Exiles, you have to eat, you have to drink, because you're eating, your health will slowly start to deteriorate. You'll get thirsty, you'll start starving. So you have to cook food, you have to boil your water. So yeah, you definitely want to be eating and drinking. You, like, every 5 to 10 minutes you have to eat and drink. So it's a little bit too much, but it's still, it's easy because you can find enough stuff. And the map is huge. So the game is massive. I'm having a lot of fun with Fallout 76. Even though I have some complaints, this obviously is the first time Bethesda is jumping into, like, an online experience, an MMO. So we'll cut them a little bit of slack. It took Blizzard a while to get Warcraft to the peak of MMOs and yet be at the top. It took Square Enix a few tries to get Final Fantasy 14 to be good. So we'll cut them some slack and let them do updates. What?
Music. How's the music?
It's Fallout. It's basic Fallout, like, background music. Unless you could turn on the radio and listen to, like, classic music and that kind of stuff. I have been really mostly playing the game with the volume off and listening to podcasts, which is usually what I do when I play MMOs. Like, when I play Warcraft, the first time through, I'll listen to the soundtrack, listen to the music in every area. But as I keep playing, I literally turn the game music off and the volume in the game off. And I'm either listening to my own music on Spotify or listening to podcasts through my phone. So and that's what I've been doing in Fallout 76 now. Once I realized the music was mostly just atmospheric and kind of like background ambiance, I turned on the radio for a little bit, listened to the classic station, and then realized that my time would be better spent listening to podcasts and catching up on certain things. And obviously that way, I like listening to other podcasts to know what I can do differently for our shows. So that's why I'm listening to so many different shows. But yeah, music is, it's very Fallout though. So hopefully you will have a chance to jump in. Now, I do not believe it is crossplay. So if you do buy this on PS4, you will be just at the mercy of whoever is on your server. Sean, Justin, and I are playing this on PC, and I do think most people are playing this on PC. I haven't seen too many people playing it on consoles. This is definitely a PC game, so I would highly encourage you to pick this up on PC when you do buy it.
All right.
The other game I want to briefly talk about here for campaign games is Spyro Reignited Trilogy. Shout out to our friends over at Activision. They did send us a copy of the game, but they sent it to us on release day. So I haven't had a whole lot of time to play the Reignited Trilogy. before the time of recording, because there's 3 games in the trilogy, obviously Spyro, Spyro 2, and Spyro Year of the Dragon. The only one I've played so far is the first one, Spyro the Dragon, and fantastic. Oh my God, I'm loving it. So comparing it to the original game, when I first got into Spyro 1 on the PlayStation 1, I felt like I was booting up Mario 64 all over again.
Yes.
Because of the hub world and how fun it was just to run around the hub world, kill the enemies that were there, burn the sheep, climb stuff, and just run around and like burn the grass. That's been made better in the remaster. And technically it's a remake because of how, I mean, like a remaster wouldn't look this good. Much like the Crash games, they're basically like full remakes.
So this is ground up, just remade.
Yeah, basically it is, because the game is gorgeous. Looks better than the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy from last year. Everything is just so well done. And I just was like, I felt like a freaking kid opening up my Nintendo 64 and playing Super Mario 64 when I booted up the Spyro Reignited Trilogy. And I spent probably more time than I should have just running around that hub and burning grass, because I realized that the grass actually burns in the actual remaster. So it was super cool. Like I was literally going around, but the grass does respawn eventually. So I was trying to like burn all the grass that I could and try to find the gems, because I've completed 5 of the worlds besides the hub world, which had 100 gems and 4 dragons to save. I've completed 5 of the additional worlds. So far, I have 100% at each world. So I really think I'm just going to go for 100%ing each world. And I mean, it's not hard to do. And I can't remember, did the original Spyro games have a map?
I haven't played it since it came out.
Me neither.
I think, was it bottom left?
Bottom left.
Yeah.
They did have a map. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember that map. And that map makes it fairly easy to navigate around the worlds. So if the original games did have it, then I just don't remember. But because there's an option to turn the map off in the settings, so maybe it was always there and I just never turned it on. But the map definitely makes it a lot easier to navigate around these worlds, and it really put into perspective to me how small these worlds are. I never realized that, but then I started thinking, the worlds in Mario 64 were incredibly small as well. Incredibly small.
It's why I had to go back to them several times. And,
yeah. And I never really thought about that. Like when we've played modern platformers like Yooka-Laylee and that kind of stuff, the worlds seem bigger to me. And it's probably because they are. With modern technology, they can be bigger and they can design it better. But I just never realized back in the heyday of the platformers in the mid to late 90s, how small those levels actually were. So that kind of was cool for me to find out. But it's so awesome being back and doing classic Spyro type gameplay. The soundtrack completely remastered by the original composer. So it's a completely new soundtrack that is basically the old soundtrack. I mean, he's made a few changes here and there, but he basically took the old soundtrack and recomposed every single song with modern technology. So very, very cool. I hope this continues to be a thing. I hope these classic games like Crash Bandicoot last year, Spyro this year, I hope we keep getting stuff like this, because what would be next?
Cool Borders?
No, probably Jak and Daxter.
Yeah, probably. I mean,
but Jak and Daxter is Sony, and it have to be Sony that would do it.
Is Sly Cooper's Sony too, isn't it?
So Sly Cooper is Sony as well, because these are Spyro and Crash were Activision, so Sony didn't really have to go forth with it. And as we'll find out later in the show, Sony isn't doing much at the moment. So I don't know that they'll put in the resources to remaster the games.
Maybe they can make one of those new Anthony Hawk games.
You mean Tony Hawk?
Yeah.
That was Activision, wasn't it?
It was.
Maybe they'll remaster Tony Hawk's 1, 2, and 3. Maybe that'll be next.
I will buy it in a heartbeat.
I would too. I would too. Maybe that's the next remaster we're going to get from Activision.
Because can you imagine, like, Spider-Man was an unlockable character, I think, in 1 or 2. 1, I think.
I think it was 1.
To use the Sony Spider-Man?
Ooh, that would be cool. It would have to be exclusive to PS4, though, that version, which I think most people would buy it on the Sony platform anyway, whether it was PS4 or PS5. But yeah, highly recommend Spyro as well. I really feel like I'm going to be investing a lot of time into this game over the next several weeks because I do want to finish all 3 games, obviously. All 3 games are excellent, but I can't wait to get to 2 because I feel like 2 definitely blew open Spyro for me. And I still think 2 is my favorite of the franchise, of the series. Like between Spyro 1, 2, and 3, I still think Ripto's Rage is my favorite one. But we'll jump to some tasty treats and talk about what else we've been playing over this past week. Did you play anything besides Pokemon Let's Go?
Pokemon Go.
Okay.
I've been playing that, trying to get my steps in.
Okay.
In preparation for connectivity to this game. And that is about it. I've been playing some Soul Calibur because I'm still working on a review. Just about done with it. Just a couple things I have left to do, and I will be done with that game.
Still no Red Dead though, huh?
No, I didn't have time for Red Dead. I was in total Soul Calibur mode.
Okay. Understandably so. Obviously, you're writing the review. But yeah, I played Red Dead for a few hours this week. Still plugging away. Still in chapter 2, but that's because I'm literally not even doing the main story. I'm focusing on the side missions. So, we're getting serious. The hat's backwards now. But
that's usually when Ash would throw the Pokeball, but I'm not going to throw a Pokeball at the screen because I don't want to break my monitor.
I was going to say, well, you have a Pokeball to throw if you wanted to.
Again, too nice of a monitor.
I know. But yeah, still plugging away at Red Dead Redemption 2. Haven't really made any progress in the main story over the past 2 weeks, just because I've literally been doing side missions and stumbling upon these areas and literally finding incredible things to do. Because much unlike Fallout 76, at least there's a reason for me to be in this area because there's a side mission there. But like I said, Fallout 76.
So you're finding a side mission by exploring?
Well, I'm finding a side mission by going to a location that a side mission is already pointing me in. So maybe I have to go to a train station or a house for a side mission, but I go to that and then I will find another one because I'm in there. There's no reason for me to go to the top left portion of the map in Fallout 76 to one random house to open a terminal to find a quest. No reason at all for me to do that.
The sense of adventure, Bryan.
You can't do that in an MMO where the world is bigger than any other game. The map size dwarfs Fallout 4. Dwarfs it. You can't do that. There has to be breadcrumb quests. That's why MMOs live and die by their quests, because that's what holds them together, that and the end game. And if people can't find the quests, they'll stop playing the game. Bethesda will learn that. They will add breadcrumb quests, I guarantee you. Speaking of World of Warcraft, I put a little bit more time into it. My Death Knight is up to 113, so we're getting closer to 120. But the reason I wanted to mention it this week, the 14-year anniversary has started for World of Warcraft. So if you log in, you'll get special items because obviously the game's been out for 14 years now as of this week. So it lasts for 2 weeks. And they bring back a lot of classic world bosses from like the vanilla Warcraft with upscaled loot. So you can go in, you can kill these bosses that were around back in the heyday in like 2004, 2005, and they'll drop 350 gear now. The bosses aren't harder. I mean, they're the same bosses, and you can find groups to do them, and you can do them once a day, but you can actually get this nice loot for killing these bosses. So I highly recommend, if you're playing the game and if you've taken a break, go do that, because even a character that is leveling up can still do that because they're not max level bosses. So,
but these are all old original bosses.
Yes, from vanilla Warcraft. Yep. Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
like ones that were actually in the world, not raids or dungeons, but like just world bosses from like 2004, 2005. Doomlord Kazakh, I believe, is one of them down there in the Blasted Lands. The original Dragons of Nightmare, like where I forget the 4 zone. Fairless was one of them. Duskwood was one of them. The Hinterlands was one of them. And Ashenvale was the 4th.
Are you doing this? Are you going to fight these guys?
Yeah, absolutely, because they drop fantastic gear. So, and like I said, you can do it once a day because they're daily quests. So you definitely want to be logging in and doing that. So that's what I'll be doing for about 20, 30 minutes every day. The last game that I played besides those 4 was Assassin's Creed Odyssey again, because as I said, I'm going to be playing it. I did beat it, 100% beat it, but they're adding new stuff every week. So every week I will be loading it up and doing the new stuff. So this week they added a new mythical creature, Sterops the Lightning Bringer, who is a Cyclops. And he was in one of the islands just in the middle of the Mediterranean. And you go there and kill him. And let me tell you, he was incredibly easy. But that's probably because he's level 46. I'm level 50. I was max level in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. They've since raised the level cap to 70, so I'm no longer max level in Odyssey. But I am level 51 now, though, because I did play for a little while after I killed him. But I wiped the floor with him, dude. But I also have like literally the best equipment I can get because I've done everything in the game. Literally everything that was available up before the new DLC. I had done it all. So I have the best gear, the best weapons, literally the best everything equipped, all the abilities unlocked, everything like the build that I wanted to have, like that just makes Cassandra a badass. So I literally stood back, shot him with like 12 arrows and he was dead. But that's like using up like, you know, the powerful abilities for a hunter and that kind of stuff. So I literally just sniped him down from afar and he was dead. But popped that trophy, did another quest that unlocked through the U Club called Prince of Persia, which I thought was funny. Obviously paying homage to another Ubisoft title. But you had to help this blind prince do some stuff. And then I realized that there was another side quest that had unlocked. Well, that didn't unlock. I had to go get it, but it wasn't there before. So I did that, and I did a little bit of exploring, and now I'm parked and ready for the next update next week. So I'm gonna keep talking about it because I want to keep mentioning everything that's happening.
I had to look up a picture of Seraphs to see if you look like the actual mythical Seraphs. Pretty damn close.
No, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely close, and that's one cool thing about Odyssey is that they are going fairly true to life with everything. Obviously, as true to life as it can be. I mean, these are mythical creatures, but they're creatures based off of real mythology, like real beings that people once thought existed. So pretty cool there. Thanks for checking out a portion of the Max Level Podcast. If you enjoyed what you just watched, be sure to click that subscribe button, leave a like, and drop a comment down below. If you're interested in checking out the Max Level Podcast in its uncut entirety at 9 a.m. every Monday morning, be sure to subscribe on either iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher. We'll see you next time.